Hello, Billy the Artist here, back with another how to draw lesson. This one is a graphic one and it's going to be another football team badge. We're going to do Liverpool Football Club, who have just become the 2020 Premier League champions after 30 years, a long wait for them to win the actual league title. But these are my hometown teams. I have Stoke-on-Trent in Staffordshire, so we have Stoke City, the Potters, Port Vale and Crewe Alexandra. They are my local clubs and I use cheap materials for this, so it's just normal pencils, paper. I've now got some Faber-Castell felt tip pens, so the colours will be as close as possible. These pencil crayons are over 30 years old, so they are just pencil crayons that you can get. But I'm just going to be using simple techniques to do these. Now again, please do like and subscribe, tick the bell to be notified when new how to draw videos appear. That would be absolutely lovely. Share these like crazy. That would be great. I love encouraging people how to draw. If you do check out my YouTube channel, there are time lapses on there of very high-end drawings and oil paintings that I've produced that can take weeks to produce. But I do these to teach you the basic techniques. It's fantastic. If you do check out as well the how to draw Harry Potter playlist, you will see a load of Harry Potter characters, but there's a portraits playlist, and there is also, in my how to draw, there are over 130 lessons and growing all the time. I also put time lapses up of these, so you see the full lesson from start to finish in a few minutes. So it's just great. I try and encourage you as much as I possibly can to do your drawing. So anyway, we will now crack on and we will do this drawing. So in fact, let's just put those out of the way so I've got access to my materials. And we have this piece of paper. If you check the grid right now, if you check the banner right now, there is the dimensions for this. It's an A4 piece of paper, which is 210 by 297 millimeters, 21 centimeters by 29.7 centimeters. Now, I put these grids on a centre line. So this is 105 mil and it's a wiggly number, but you will see what that actually is in the banner. So I divide it into quarters and then divide each of those quarters into quarters again. Again, all the markings that you need, and this helps you to lay down the drawing. I will also use shapes. If you check out now how to draw anything part 1, you can draw anything from a bird, a bee, a flea, a tree, a horse, a house, or anything else. Now, I say that and show that in that video using basic shapes, and this is the same with this. Even though there's typography on here, it's all just a question of using shapes to make the drawing as simple as possible. Now, also on this grid, when you check out the how to draw portraits playlist, I use a 2 centimeter grid. If you look in the cards and in the description, as in with the how to draw anything, there is a link to laying the grids down, and you'll even see me laying down this grid in a very short video, and it just shows you how to set up the piece of paper. So there you have all the intro bits. We will now get on with drawing the Liverpool Football Club logo, and that's soccer for you folks in the USA. So anyway, we have now my trusty 2B pencil, and we are going to start anyway, and this is the other reason why I use shapes. Drawing is not like writing. You are creating an image, producing something to convince somebody that they are seeing an illusion in a sense. So you'll be using a pencil, paints, crayons, felt tips, and it doesn't matter where you start, but by using shapes you're actually putting simple shapes down on the actual paper. Now the other thing is we're going to start with the "you'll never walk alone" bit. Now the thing is I've put these lines on, these straight lines, using a grid. Now you can see that we've got the actual "you'll never walk alone" frame right on this top guideline. Now what I'm going to, and you can see, is it's literally straight. So for a long straight thing you want to use a ruler. So I'm just going to put my ruler on here and we will come back, and I will put the outline in felt tip pen. I'll go all around the outline using a felt tip pen, which will be much better. Now, there is a shape straight away. Just makes things really, really simple. Now, we can see kind of about there, that's the very top part of this decorative piece across the top. Now, you imagine this is going over an entrance to the gate into Liverpool Football Club ground itself somewhere, or the old ground. So here we've got another rectangle. Now you can, if you want, draw a straight line using a ruler, but I'm just going to do this because there's some kind of straight lines, but it's fairly freehand. But something as long as that, use a ruler. Now here we've got a triangle, and then we've got this little fleur-de-lis at the top. So I'm just doing a little kind of oval shape, and then we've got a little kind of wiggle like wings that are coming off, little leaves that come off the side of that fleur-de-lis. Now here we've got an oval, and I'm just drawing this on a little bit darker now, and we've got another oval on this side, and then this oval. Each of these ovals will have one inside them as well, and then this one on the left has got the Scottish saltire in there. I'm presuming that's what it is because it looks like a thistle on this side. And then we've got a little vertical line, we've got a curve there, and then the top of the thistle, just a little shape, and then we've just got that little shape there on the side. Now if we go to these points, we want like a big W, and then we want to curve that down. In fact, I should just put all the shapes in, but it's quite wiggly. But this is the thing with drawing and using shapes, you can start in one area and then move around. As you can see, I'm just putting this little bit in at the top very quickly. Now we've got a replication of the actual liver bird up in this little decorative piece at the top, and so I'm just drawing a little triangle and a C shape, little rectangle, and then just a couple of little bits for legs, and obviously you got the tail coming off. Now on this side here we can see, coming up to this guideline, we've got a big C shape, and this comes just above the rectangle that's got "You'll Never Walk Alone" in, and it needs to come down to about the quarter. So you can imagine that's half, there's a quarter, so that comes around and comes up, and it's just, you can see it's just a C shape. Now you've then got another little C, as you can see there, and that's the kind of leaf shape that's coming round, and you just follow the curve around, and then you've got a little V shape there, and then another one, and this is the leaves at the end, another little V shape, and then a V that comes past. In fact, we need to come a little bit further over on that one, the guideline. Now here you can see we've got a D, nice simple D shape. Now off here we've got a horizontal line, and that comes over. Just going to draw a line down, but we just want a simple curve that comes down and comes around, and then we want, now I'm resting my left hand on top of my right hand because it's very hot and one of the hottest days of the year, and I don't want to get sweat onto the paper because that can cause little creases and things. So we now want a little spike up for this kind of, and then an M little spike similar to the one that's on the top here, this kind of, is it fleur-de-lis? Anyway, it's like some kind of flower leafy thing, but you can imagine it made in metal. Now here you can see we've got a D, the front of a D, and it just curves around and put a little circle on, and then here we've got a little triangle, and that's the basic shapes, and we'll go round and put a more detailed outline down in a bit. Now again, here we've got this U shape, just a big curve, but you can imagine it's just an oval there that's capped off at the top. Put a circle on the end, and the same on this side, and then we want a little triangle there. Now we've got to repeat it on this side, but we're going to reverse everything that we've just done. So rather than a C, we've got a D. You can see this big D shape here, but just imagine you've got to match the top side here, and the same with the horizontal. So we can bring the horizontal out. Now here you can see it's like a J right at the end, and that's the horizontal, and then we can follow the curve of this D all the way round, and it curves up, comes out, and then on this side you've got a C shape, like you've got a D here, we've got a C here, but we just need to put a little circle on the end of that. And we're going to mirror everything that's on this side. So here we want that triangle there, and then this curves around. We've got, as you have a D there, we've got a C there, and just keep the top at the same place, circle at the end. Triangle, that's going to be those kind of little leaf flower bits at the end. Then here we've got a little V, another little V, another little V that then curves around and joins the top. Now above that we want a little V. Oh, we missed it on this side. So above that one there, we want that V matching that one. Now again, we want this oval. Just put a little oval in. And then we can put the circle in for that side, circle in for that side, and then a little triangle. Now we've just put all those construction lines in very quickly using simple shapes. That's really how easy it is. Now, again, what will help us is just reference points, and we can fill all the rest in, or we can just carry on working and we can do the letters, but we're just going to use big simple shapes. So I'm going to come down rather than working up here to show you how simple it is, that it's not a question of starting in one corner and working over. You can literally just use shapes. So we're going to come down to the bottom. So now down here on this guideline, I am going to put in, so it's about thirds, a triangle. It's right on that guideline. And so obviously we've got the mirrored image on this side. So just above the horizontal guideline, the same thing, we're just mirroring another triangle. Now I'm going to come out and I'm going to put a rectangle in that comes all the way out. But then here we've got a V. And we need to just curve that one underneath. So the same on the right hand side, we need to mirror it. So we've got the rectangle that comes out, and then we can put that V in, and that's going to be to the edge. Now down on this triangle we've got another, so even though it's curved, what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to put a complete rectangle in. So you can kind of see where the top and the bottom is. So now we know that there's going to be a curve inside there. So I'm going to start, and you can see here there is a complete D shape. And so I'm putting this D in first, and then on this side there's a C shape. And that corresponds because that's the matching side. And underneath we've got this shape that comes up in the centre is kind of just above those parts of the bottom of the D and the C there. So we're just curving over and bringing that right the way around. Then we can do match the underneath line, and then inside the rectangle we need to do a third line, which is the top of the banner with the EST 1892. So we can curve that around and it comes out past that end, and then we can draw the diagonal line down. So you can see how the bottom of it matches the top there, and the same on this side. So you got the top of the D come down, and that's where you want that banner to go. And then we can bring the curve all the way over, and then you've got that last little decorative bit underneath, another little stripe, and there you've got part of the banner as well, all done at the bottom. So now we want to finish off this top part of the banner. So here we've got the diagonal line, and we're bringing the curve round, and we're going to bring this out, and it curves up to join that diagonal where you've got that little triangle in. And then we can bring the curve of the banner and this needs to curve up and join the guideline. Just bring that up a little bit. We'll correct that when we do the full detail line. So again, on this side, I'm now going to start with the individual line above. In fact, no, I'm not going to start with the corner here. So we're going to come down. That comes through. The banner just curves to follow that C a little bit, and then it curves around and out. You get that diamond, the point in there, the V, and then this curves up to join, and then we've got that individual stripe above. Again, comes round, goes past through the guideline, and then we've got the one underneath. And this is us just putting all of these basic shapes in. Now again, we've got this big void in the middle, and by using these guidelines, this is how simple it makes it to break down a very complex image into simple shapes, and you can get it down and it just looks really good and simple. So now we're going to put the edge of the badge in, and we can follow this down. You can see we've got a little gap above these bands down here, and we've got two lines that are going to go up all the way, and you can see that it's about a third. So imagine like this section, divide it into thirds, and that's about where the edge is. And that's going to go up, and it's to the right of the flower right on the top of there, underneath this rectangle. So now if we curve that down and then do the slightly thicker line, that comes all the way down. So if we do the same on this side, oh, I've just noticed we haven't got the little spiky flower thing. So if we mirror this, there's the spike on the top, and then you've got the M leaves. We can do the same on this side. It's kind of just so on here where it's between these two. We do the same on this side. It's just got to mirror it. It's going to come down and we just float the line down, then do one inside, and that's the edge of the shield, and that comes down and joins the bottom. Now again, right in the centre, we've got on the centre line, we can draw that line with absolute confidence, and then we just got a big W. And we can bring that up to join the edge. So the dips in the kind of centre need to be at about the same level. Well, at the same level, not about. And then we can do the thicker line underneath. And this goes right the way. And now you've got the outline of the shield. So now, if you follow the line around inside, bring that up, go right up into the corner, then come down, just leaving that white gap. That comes right the way down to the bottom. Same on the right hand side. Now we've got here, and you can see it's just above. So bringing the line down, it's just above the centre line, and the same on this side. Now we have, just like we have up here, we have a horizontal line coming all the way over. So I would say that's about there. And that's looking pretty good so far. I see now we've got a load of type to get in. We've got the flames on the little bits down here, and then we've got the liver bird with Liverpool Football Club. So far this is going quite well. Now we're going to put in the flames. So on this side we can see very simply we have a little rectangle, and the curve just kind of goes up. We can just put a rectangle in, and then we want another little rectangle providing the cross. Now you can put a full rectangle in, but then just we'll detail it up, and you can curve the bits next to it afterwards. So again, now we've got to match it on this side. There's your cross, and then we'll just put a rectangle in on top. Now the flames, again, they are mirrored, so what's on this side has got to be flipped for on this side. You could just rush and just put flames in, but this is where observation and drawing come hand in hand. And it's just practice to actually do this and kind of make it right. So first, I'm going to put a rectangle in for where the width is. So there's a large rectangle, and I'm doing the same on this side. Now it's a little bit farther over, that is, so if we bring that back over, that's fine. Now above the actual top of this little torch that's down here, we've got a little flame shape. It's a little leaf that comes up, and then we've got another one that's going to come above it and just curve and come down. So if we come to the top here, we can draw a triangle first as well, and then we've got another triangle there, and we can see there's a little triangle there. So we've got the bottom leaf in, and now we're going to go for the outline. So I'm curving, coming back, and then we want the curve of the edge to come down, curve to the flame to the point that comes out, and then it curves and comes right the way around to the bottom. Then we want this shape going above that flame, and then this comes down to the bottom of this point. And then we just want to match the lines inside. And then this comes down, and then we can come up and do the point above. And then we've got a little flame next to it, so coming up just underneath the like a tongue of fire coming off. So we can just draw a little leaf shape, just put a curve in with a little bit for yellow at the bottom, and then we've got another little tongue of fire that goes across the centre line. So now if we do the same on this side, let's just put those curves in. I'm going to start with the triangle, so right up from the centre, right up to the top. Let's put a large triangle in, and then one on the edge. Then we've got the point on the right hand side. And we'll start with the outer shape. We can bring that curve down right to the bottom, curve around out to the point, that comes down, and then curve up to the top. Now I'm going to put the little tongue of fire in first on the edge. Then we've got the same, got a little leaf shape here with the yellow inside. Now we want the same, we've got this leaf at the bottom, then you want the yellow inside, and then we've got the one that's just above it, that comes right down to the bottom, that curves down, and then we want the red outer line, that comes down, and then we curve up to inside that point. You've got a little V, and then that goes up, and then we come down and join the bottom. Now again, it's a very complex shape, but I've just done it very quickly with the pencil, and it just makes it so much simpler using basic shapes. So anyway, I hope that's helped. Just sharpen my pencil so I've got a point, because we've done all of that and it just blunts the pencil as we go along. So it's just nice to actually sharpen it so I've got a sharp point. Now we're going to come into the "You'll Never Walk Alone" bit. So I'm going to come in and draw 2 horizontal lines, and this is kind of like learning how to write when you had the lines, when you're learning to write properly. So I'm going to just kind of make sure that they are about the same length apart. Yeah, that's better. Yep, that'll do. So again, you just draw 2 lines in. Now I'm left-handed. I would ordinarily start on this side and work my way over, whereas if you're right-handed, you'd start here and you'd work that way. Now I could start in the middle and show you that you can literally just work either way, but for this one at first I'm going to show you how to break it all down, and you'll draw them, and I'll draw in the way if you were right-handed. I'm going to start first with this L here, because you've just got a nice little rectangle right on the guideline coming down here. So there's a rectangle coming down and then horizontal one. Now the Y comes right over to this point here. So I'm drawing a box for where the Y is going to go. We can see here that there's an apostrophe, and then that leaves the space for 2 more letters. So I've just drawn these boxes, and that's the Y, O and the U. And so the Y has the central column, and then you've got a V. The O is obviously just an oval shape. Do the inside part. The U, we've got the 2 verticals, and that curves around. And then we'll need the serifs on, but we can kind of put those on with a pen when I go over it in a minute. We need another L next to this one, and you can see how it comes and lines up straight away with the points above in the metalwork, the ornate bit. So there's your second L, and then here we want the edge of that N. Now the N, you can see, is wider than the E, so I'm drawing a rectangle there that's pretty wide, and then thinner for the E. That kind of comes up, and you can see how it goes up and meets the ball in the top part. Now I'm going to draw the box for the R. So we've got N, E, and then we've got 2 spaces. We've got the space for the V, and then the space for the E after the V. So the N, we're going to come in, we've got the upright and the next upright, and then the diagonal. The E, centre, and then the top parts and the bottom part. The V, is quite simply just a V shape. Then we've got the E again, top part, middle, lower. Then the R right at the end. We've got the back, and then we want the curve. Just think of the top of an R, it's just like a D shape, or that's like a P. And then we just need the kick coming off. Now the W starts just to the right of this column here that sticks out above, and then it comes to the end of the oval, and you can see how the A goes next to it and forms the K. The end of the K is coming here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the W first. So we've got 1 V, 2 V's, and that makes your W. Then you want an inverted V for the A. Then you want the L, and then the K. The K is quite wide as well. You want those two, that V to work on there. Then you've got the A on this side. Then you've got the L right next to the guideline. Then you've got the O. And again, I'm just going to put in the box so you can see here we've got the box for the N and the box for the E at the very end. Just filled in the circle inside the O, and then we want the verticals and then the diagonal for the N, the vertical for the back of the E, the top, rectangle for the middle and the bottom. And there you can see we've just put in "You'll never walk alone" very quickly. So now we need to do the same thing for Liverpool and Football Club. So we just need to draw another line in for the bottom of Liverpool. And you can see we need to just kind of come below. But that's about the right height. That isn't. So I'm just increasing. And this is the most important part. Laying your foundation down is the most important bit. And getting it right. So you can see there we've got those, the bottoms of the curves are about in the same place now. And that's what you need to do, is just get your foundations right. So now I'm going to come down a bit. I'm just going to draw this horizontal line for the top of Liverpool. Now you can see here, just above the centre line, we need a top line for football club. And that goes all the way over, and then it's a bit lower underneath. So we draw that in, and that's going to help us to draw those letters in again. So now we've got the R that we can see. You see how that comes up to in line kind of in the middle of the E. So that's where the edge of the R is. And then we've got the E. That comes over. Here we want the I about there. Now that's just a rectangle, so that works for us quite well. And then we want the V, but we want this E shape here. So we've got a rectangle there for the E. We've got a little kind of V shape. And then we've got the L at the end. So we've got the vertical for the L, and then a rectangle for the bottom. So now I'm doing the same for the V. Then we want the E, a vertical, rectangle for the bottom. Center is in a little bit. The top is just over. Then we want vertical for the R. We've got the curve that just comes across the center line. And then that curves down, and then we can have that coming across. Vertical for the P. So I'm just doing the vertical there first, because very easily we've got the vertical on this guideline here. This is the thing with using shapes and guidelines, helps massively. And we can see that we've got the horizontal for the L. The edge of the O is going to come to there. Now we know that the P is going to come over to about there. So this gives us this space for the two O's. So I've drawn the line down and then just created two similar shaped size boxes that are going to put the O's in. But we're going to finish off the P first. Do that D shape for the outer and inner. And then we can just put in the O shapes. You see I've put my hand, it's getting covered in, actually I ought to use this, it's getting covered in pencil. So I'm actually smudging my drawing. It's getting dirty underneath, but I'm not sweating so much now. It's 28.5 in my studio, it's been over 30 this week. So it's pretty warm. Then we want the second O. And then we want to do the inside lines. Now again, you can work on these as quickly as I am and you'll get an impression, or you can really take your time and get them as accurate as you want, but that will take a very, very, very long time. So now we can see here we've got, I'm starting with the A for ball of football. And we've got the horizontal just underneath the centre line. We've got the two L's. So that's just to the right of the P. We want the horizontal. And I'm going to start with the F back here. So just to the left of this guideline, and then you can see the top goes across and then just underneath, in line with the A. Now again, we've got these O's, but we've got this T, and you can see the T comes in line with the E. So there's the vertical, and just on the edge of the E, there's the vertical of the T. So now we've got this space again here, and you can just split it equally, and then you can put the O's in. Put the little lines inside, and that works for us. So now we've got the B, and that comes about here. So we can bring the edge of the top of the B and then the bottom. So there we've got Liverpool Football. Let's just centre that up a little bit. Now we come over and we've got clubs. So I'm going to start with the B right on this guideline. That curves out and comes down. Then we've got the U and the C. So I'm coming back over, runs inside the O. So we've got the curve of the C that comes around, and then we just want the L, top and bottom. Now we come right down to the bottom, just to the left of the centre line. We've got a little circle, and you imagine you can draw a light line for the bottom and the top of the EST in 1892. So now I've just drawn them, and that'll help us just for the guide, but these are quite wibbly wobbly because it's on the banner. So we've got the 1, and then we want 2 circles for the 8, slightly smaller on the top, circle inside, and then we've got the 92. So I'm going to come to the edge here where we drew the lines, the construction lines. You've got the bottom of the 2, and then the top, it just curves around. And then we've got the 9, just a circle at the top, and then just draw the bottom coming down. So now again, kind of mirrored over on this side. We bring that E out. There's the back. You want the top, the middle, and then the bottom. Then we need to do the S. So if you think of the S, a C at the top, a D at the bottom, and then you just join them together. And then you've got the T. There's the vertical. Again, just following the kind of flow of that banner. So I'm just going to bring that 2 over a little bit, and the 9. That'll do. Now, last shape. This is quite interesting because this is quite a complex, or looks, well, it does look like a very complex shape. I'm just going to sharpen my pencil again, and this is the liver bird in the centre of the shield. Now, we can see where the top of its head is, and then where its feet are. So if we start with its right leg, you can see here, right on the centre line, we've got a little rectangle. Now we do a rectangle for the bottom of the foot, then a rectangle for that leg that comes down, and the same for the left leg. We've got the rectangle for the thin part of its leg, and then a rectangle for the bottom foot. Now, rectangle for the top part of its leg. Now here we can see there's just a C shape. Now we can come across and we can see where the top of the head is in line with the flames. So that's kind of, well, if you think where the A is, we need to come down and it's a bit more, so it's about there. That's where the top of the head is. So imagine you got the shape of the A, so do that again and a little bit more, and that's where the top of the head is. So I'm just going to put a rectangle, and then here we want a C that comes out just past the B, and that comes all the way down to that leg. Now here we've got a crescent actually inside this body, like a crescent moon or a banana shape. You can see we've got the body now comes all the way down to the top of that leg. And now the wings are going to go up. It needs to come in between the L and the C. So there's a long thin rectangle. Now again, up above the C and the L, you want a little triangle there, and then we can bring a guideline down to, you can see the top of these torches, and that's where that comes out the back. And then we've got just these leaf shapes for the feathers coming out of the back of the liver bird. Comes through the guideline, and that's the basic shape down that we're now going to build upon for the bird. So if we come back up to the head, you've got the back, you've got this kind of lovely feather coming out of the back of its head, and then we want to, you can see a D shape that curves around. Then the top curves over, you want a little triangle for the bird's eye, and then the beak comes over. You can see it's like just inside the B, and then you want a nice D shape there, and that's the mouth. And then the curve comes down of the neck just to the left of the centre line. Through the beak, just want a little line coming down, just a curve, and this is the branch with the leaves, and then you want 3 little leaves, one there, one to the side, right side, and then one to the left side. Now we've got the top of this wing, it comes up, curves to the point, and then comes back down, and then we've got a second line just inside, and it's only one second line that comes down, and we create the feather inside that wing. Now we do the same on this wing. We bring the curve down all the way, follow the trajectory of the feather next to it, and then it curves and creates a V just by the centre line. Follow the line down, it stops there, and then you can see we've got this shape. So we've got a little V there, I'm drawing a rectangle, and then we've got feather that comes out at the bottom, curves, comes back up, and that joins with this one that you've got coming off the bottom. And then you've got 4 little feathers, little V's that come off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you've got 4 that go up above it. So this curves off, goes up to the edge. 1. And they get slightly smaller. 2, 3, 4. And then a little triangle next, and then 1, there at the top. And that is the very basic outline. Now we're going to go over it and create a more detailed outline, and then we can colour it in. Right, just sharpening the pencil up a bit. Now we're going to come in and we're just going to put in, using the pencil, some details. So we've got the little details on the leg. So we're going to come up, we're going to put the little points on, then we want the curve coming down to the foot, and then we've got the foot. So we've got this rectangle. We could just come in and do this with a pen, but it's just nicer to do it with a pencil. So we just bring around, and you've got the talon at the end, and we've got 3. So there's one, there's the toenail of the next, and then the third one curves at the top. And then you want the leg coming down. So again, on this side now, we want the point coming down, that little V point coming out, and then the leg comes down. It's thicker at the top, going to thinner at the bottom. Again, point comes off, curves up to the back, and that's where that goes up then to join where that the back of his body meets the wing that comes down in the tail feathers. So we now have the right foot. So we've got the, again, like the front foot, right foot, the left foot, the back foot. We've got where it comes down, so it needs to be level, curves. We've got the rear claw that comes up, goes and joins the body at the leg at the front, at the back. Then we come to the front, claw comes down, comes out to the front, and then the back toe brings that shape. Now again, we're going to come up quickly, and I'm just going to indicate the serifs on the letters. So these are just little triangles of shapes. So the V has got serifs at the top. Where it comes down to the bottom, there's no serifs. The back of the E, that's got a serif. Where that kicks off, the lower part is further over than the middle and the top, and the middle is a little bit further back than the E, and it's just slightly diagonal, so it curves down. The middle part, you've got a serif, and then slightly diagonal for the top part. The R has got a little serif on the back, serifs at the bottom of the vertical. Same for the bottom of the P, little triangle at the back. Serif on both sides at the top of the L, triangle kicks off the back, again goes up and is slightly diagonal. Now again, on all of these letters on Football Club, we've got a similar situation, but they're very, very tiny. And then the C's kind of got serifs, the L's at the top, and just points out at the back. The A, serif at the bottom, the B just kicks out at the back, and the T at the bottom, the F the same, diagonal underneath. And we can do it with a pen on these ones at the top, but just indicating those there just makes it that little bit simpler. So that is pretty much a fairly full outline down of the, using pencil, of the club badge. So now we're going to come in, and I'm going to just use a felt tip pen, and we're going to put a full outline in. Now we're going to start, I'm going to use a ruler, and you can see above the top of You'll Never Walk Alone it comes to the center point. So if I put that on the edge, don't go all the way. Now you could just colour this in, but it just makes it show up a whole lot easier if I do this. And I'm even going to do the verticals. so that they are perfectly straight. Again, the same with the horizontal line across there. Now, for all the type, you could, if you wanted, do the lines for the bottoms, and that way they're going to be perfectly flat, and the same for the tops. So I'm going to be very careful. There's the U, bottom of the flat of the Y, sorry, the U, then the L, the first L, the second L, the bottom of the ends, the E, little flat part of the bottom of the V, same for the E, the R, the bottom of the W's, the A, the L, bottom of the K, the A, the L of alone, and the bottoms of the N and the E. Now if you do the same on the top part, using a ruler, you are not going to have wobbly letters. So again, I'm looking and I want to keep this as flat as possible so as it doesn't move, but I also don't want to obstruct your view. So I'll get that out of the way so you can see all of the drawing. So as I get the tops level. So again, the Y, got the tops, the U, tops of the two L's, tops of the N, the E, the two serif tops of the V, the E, top of the R, the three tops of the W, slight top of the A. I mean, that's fairly pointed, but we've got the top of the L, the K, little top of the A, the L. I've just dinked the top of where the O is, just so as I should have done that with these as well, but we can do that freehand. Top of the N's and the E going over. Now, I do have these horizontal lines, vertical's going up, horizontal is going across. So we come over to the little ornamental piece going up, and then the same on this side. Then we come underneath and we need the thicker part the same. That comes over, and that way you've got perfectly flat on those parts. So again, now we have coming up to the top of these. In fact, I shouldn't have gone all the way up on that side. The colour would have filled that in. So now I'm going to do the same on the top of the Liverpool letters so that they are flat. So we've got the serif on the top of the L, the I, the two V sides, the E going over, the R, flat across the top of the P. I'm just marking the top of the O's and the flat of the top of the L. We then do the same on the bottom, the L, the I, the V, the E, bottom of the R, bottom of the P, just marking where the bottom of the O's are, and then the bottom of the L. Now this is going to be very fine. Now you can get even finer marker pens. Top of the F, just marking where the top of the O's are, the T, the B, top of the L's, the C, top of the serifs of the L and the U, and then the B. And then if we do the same for the bottoms, the F, marking the bottom of the O's, the T, the B, A, the two L's, mark the bottom of the C, the L there, bottom of the U, and the flat of the bottom of the B. Now that's put all of, I think that's all of our flat lines. Now we can put the crosses in on those using the ruler if you want to, or you can just do it freehand. And so now I'm going to come in and we're going to draw the shapes that we need. So we've got these ornamental pieces. So I'm just following the curve up, the guidelines that we put in. And you've got the kind of flower at the top. And that curves out, goes down. There you've got that point, and you want that to curve up, little point on the top, and then that kind of flattens out the curve, comes to this edge piece, curve around, you've got the circle, curves back on itself, comes back around, then you've got this little leaf part there, this curves up, circle, curves back around, leaf on that diagonal that you put on, curves out, and then you've got this D that follows around. This comes all the way under but doesn't touch the horizontal line. You want a little gap. So just bringing that curve around, leaving a tiny little gap, getting a little bit close there, and then curves out on that triangle, kind of leafy bit going back in, curves around to this circle, circle underneath, and you've got this C shape. That curves back to the leaf part there, a little bit thicker, come down, then you've got the C shape that we did earlier. So there's the C, circle at the end, bring the C round, and this comes up to another little spiky leaf shape. Now up above here we've got this curve that you can bring in of this leaf shape, and we can bring that shape all the way round to the point, V in, second V, smaller V, and then that curves down to join, and then we've got the J at the end. And there you've got a very ornamental piece done. That went down very, very quickly because we did the foundation work. That's how important it is. So now we're going to do these ovals. There's the outer line. Now we've got this salt air inside. So I'm just being careful. I'm doing the curve at the top and then a V. Do the curve at the bottom to match, and an upside down V, and that's like a little kind of cheese triangle. Do the same on this side. There's a V, and there you've got your salt air. So now if we do the same curve on this side, there's the outer part. Now it looks a little bit more complex than just doing this, but it's just a question of looking at the shapes. So we know we've got a little vertical there, and then that vertical is going to come down, but it's got curves on either side. And then we can just do the little curve above, that comes up, comes down, there's a little dink inside. Go up, little dink, curve, down, curve over the top. Now we've got to follow the curve all the way over the top, and then we've got two little dinks, and then we can do a U kind of shape there, little flat, circle underneath, and that's the thistle. Just very simple, using simple shapes. So now I'm going to start and we're going to do the inside. So we've got this W inside this triangle that we put at the top. And then we can do to the outer parts. And the points, the top of the points are going to be fairly similar. And we want the curve to come down and join at the bottom. The same on this side. This is the outer line. and then on the inside we can bring that down and match it on that side. And then we've got the liver bird. Now we've got a lot of detail in this one because it's larger, but this one's a lot smaller. So we just kind of indicate the shape of the head, C for the curve there, and then we've got kind of a couple of little leaf shapes, well, one leaf shape with 2 points at the top, and then you've got the tails at the bottom of the body, and then we've got the legs and the feet. We just put the indications in. Then we want leaf at the top, then we want this curve coming over, and that's the top of that ornamental part in the centre. Now we're going to mirror what's on this side. But because we've put the foundation lines down, it should be as simple as we did this. You just follow the trajectory of your lines. Keep looking at your reference and it'll help you to put your lines in. So now we want circle at the edge, curves around to a C, comes down, you got that little leaf at the back, comes down, and then we've got this C that comes all the way underneath. Gets close to the horizontal of the metal plate where you'll never walk alone, curves up, and then you get that leaf coming to the guideline. Now we follow the curve down, leaf out, curves up, circle, curve back around. Then we want the top coming over to this little V that comes up, and we follow the curve down and you get that leaf just past the guideline. Bring the curve up, little V there, second V goes up, curve on that V, and the curve comes around to the leaf line inside. You come out, curve around to the little point, curve up, curves down. Now here we've got this D, so I'm drawing the D inside, and you want a circle, and then you want the outer line, another D. You go up to the point, bring the leaf shape in, and then we can follow the curve to that D all the way around. Again, don't touch the horizontal, up to the circle, then you follow the line inside, and then there's the point on that ornamental part matching this side, curve out, in, curve out, in. Then it was a J on this side, so it's just kind of, it's a reverse J on this side. Curve down, round to the point, and that's the very ornamental top actually inked in. Now we need to just do the letters. So again, I'm just following the shapes that we already put in, and where the serifs are, you just want to flick them out. The U, the O, between the Y and the U, just curve those around. I'm going to put the apostrophe in first. Don't know why, just felt like doing it. And you get the vertical, that curves down, the serif curves up, the flat, the serif curves to the bottom. And that's the U done. Serifs on the L, second L, point going up, and you see that it's more diagonal, it's not horizontal. Serif on the N, goes up, diagonal goes over, serif at the top, serif on the E, centre, diagonal on the bottom, serif on the top of the V, and then the same on the E, diagonal going up. serif on the R, then you've got a little D inside, then the D on the outside, and then you get the kick coming down from the R. Now we're on to the W. And this is how simple doing letters are, if you make it very simple. Now again, we've got a point at the top here, inverted V, point inside, serifs at the top. If you break type down into shapes, it's much easier to draw. Little triangle for the inner part of the A, wider part on the right hand side, serif at the bottom. Kickouts for the serif on the L coming down, then you get the diagonal going up. Serifs on the K, and then we've got the A, triangle inside, bottom part, serif at the bottom. Serifs on the L going down, and then you get the diagonal going up. Then we've got the O, just a nice oval, and then the oval inside. Serif at the top of the N and the bottom, goes up, diagonal going across, little serif off on the outside and the top of that vertical, and then you got the last E. Serifs, diagonal, serif on the middle part inside, slight diagonal on that one. And that's the complete top of that ornamental part done and inked in. So now we're going to come and we're going to do the Liverpool. And you've got nice big serifs, and then you want a nice big curve for the bottom of the L. Now the verticals, you could use a ruler if you wanted to, and the straight lines on the V, but you can do them freehand, and there's something about freehand that looks really lovely. And this is something where the coach work on signs used to all be done by hand, and that's the thing with hand done calligraphic signs, they look really lovely. There's a friendliness and a warmth to them. The E, you got that diagonal again at the bottom, and the R, and comes up, and we want that kick coming out, curve coming around, and this is the thing, you can do this in a graphics package like this actual logo is, but it's not teaching you hand and eye coordination. There's a D inside for the P, the inner part of the P that curves around, comes down, and there's just something so therapeutic about doing a drawing from start to finish. And I hope you really enjoy this, because I'm having a blast. So there's the outer part of that O. That curves, and you can kind of see it's slightly off centre, so the thinner parts are just on an axis, it's not vertical. So we just need to go a little bit wider on that O, and do the inside part, and the serifs on the L, comes down, kicks out at the back, comes down, and then you get the vertical. And there's Liverpool. So now I've got to be very careful on this, because it's got to have red inside. So I'm just very lightly and quickly filling these lines in as best as I can on Football Club. There's the first O, there's the second. Now, kind of diagonal serifs on the top of the T. Then we've got the B, little serif at the back. Then we've got the A, point at the top, serifs at the bottom. Triangle for the top part. Then we've got the L's. Verticals, slight diagonals. And at the top of the verticals you've got a serif. Then we've got this nice curve on this C all the way round. And then we've got the L, serif at the top, comes down, diagonal. Serif at the top of the U, curves down, joins the vertical, serifs at the top and bottom. And then the final B. Serif top and bottom, curves going out, 2 Ds inside. Now, I'm going to come down and we're going to put in the dot. Needs to move a little bit to the side, and then we've got the T. So we've got, this is a bit more fluid. It's not as regimented as these because it's on this curved banner. There's the serifs going up, the body coming down. Then we've got the S, little serif. So I'm going to do the serif at the top and the bottom. And then you want a C coming round, and then that's going to join a D. Then you want another C inside, it's going to join a D going outside. That's how you do that S really quickly. The E, do the top going to the serif at the back, curve that down a little bit to the serif at the bottom, and then the larger part at the bottom comes up, and then you get the centre line. It's more like a kind of triangle really. And there's your EST. So now we want this one. You can see we've got a little flat at the top, little point, and that curves down to the serif at the bottom, wider at the back. The 8, smaller at the top than the bottom. Then you've got the 9, just moving it over a little bit. So you've got the C going round, and then you want it curves at the back. Large flat bit at the bottom, circle inside. Then the 2, I'm just moving this over a little bit as I go. Curve coming all the way over, and you go out to the back of the 2. And that's a lot done. Now we've just got the outside of the shield and the banner and the flames to go. So now we're going to put the outline in all the way around the shield. So I'm going to start in this top left hand corner. I'm going to do the flats all the way across the top. And then I'm going to follow this curved line. Now I've just done that. I've not rested my hand, I've pivoted from my shoulder. Lightly just guiding my hand over. And the reason I use this piece of paper is so that I don't smudge everything. So again I'm going to come over, and you could do it from the curve inside your wrist, but when you're working outside of the curve, try and guide from your shoulder so that you're pivoting from your shoulder, not your wrist. So here I'm just coming around, guiding from my shoulder up to the top, and we want this thicker line. So I'm going to follow the track all the way up to the centre, keeping it to the same distance up to the top part. Then I want the third. I mean, there's a little bit of a wobble there, but that's okay. And this will be the white line. Goes up and comes across up to the top corner. Now this one is a long line all the way down to the bottom, so I'm going to put in the 2 little bottom parts of the shield where we'll join onto. So now just coming down, pivoting from my shoulder, following the little construction line that we put in right to the bottom, from the corner, matching the line, coming all the way down my hand's gliding over the paper. If this paper wasn't here, I would be smudging all of my drawing. So now we're going to come down, track inside. This is the outer part of the inner shield line. This comes down all the way. Well, there I've got a little bit of a wobble, so I've just filled that in. And then the inside of the shield for the thinner line, coming all the way down to the bottom. Now on this side, I'm going to do the same. In fact, before I start, let's put the two little flat parts in, and I'm going to go from the outside in. So this is against, so this one was kind of inside the curve of my wrist, this one's against, and the paper is creasing as I go. This is not going to be easy. Right, so I've got my hand off, so it's just on the desk, so I'm not on the drawing. And we're coming down, guiding from my shoulder, join at the bottom. Second line, all the way down. You can see my wrist is locked. I'm not doing this and getting little lines. And this is just practice. Just have a go at drawing long lines on a page if you're unsure. Oops. There you go. There are those lines in very quickly. Just the heat making my hands stick to the paper. So now we've got this flame on this side, so I'm going to do a little flame at the top, and then you've got the bigger flame coming down. Now we've got the outer line of this flame that comes down, you get the point going off, curves, comes down to the bottom. Then we've got this inner part that comes down. Again, you've put the construction lines in, that's the hard work. So from this point at the top, that curves and joins, right from the top, down, joins at the top. Now we've got this point here. This curves and comes down. This curves underneath this point, and you've got a little point above, comes down. Now you could, I'm using a black pen, you could use a red pen for this, and the outline of this you could have used a blue pen, but I'm using black just so as it shows up. It's completely up to you. Then we've got the flame inside. That curves down the outside. And that's the flame right to the bottom. Now we've got the actual top of the torch. That curves, slight curve there, curve on the inside, and it curves to the outside. Then we've got a flat, and then we've got 90 degrees going out to the edges, but then it's curved on the edge, both sides, D and a C. It comes back, that one's a little bit too far over, but that doesn't matter. And then it's slight, it's not horizontal, slight curve up. And there's the torch. So again, if we do the same on this side now, we're just looking at the construction lines and what we're copying. You get the little flame, then you get the bigger flame, point at the top, it's a leaf shape, comes down, leaf shape inside, curve to the little point, point goes out, comes down, curve to the bottom. The outer line curves down to this little V, goes up, curves, comes to the bottom. Now we've got the inner part of the flame that curves. We can bring that curve all the way down. From the point comes down to the bottom. Inside that joins. Follow the curve down to a point at the bottom. Come up inside. You've got that little V there, and then that goes up and joins the top. And then you've got this little leaf shape inside, and then another little leaf shape inside that. And then here we can do the same. We've got two curves for the top and bottom of the torch, and then the curves on the outside. Now there's the top part, there's the bottom part. Now it's curved going upwards from left to right, and we want the horizontal lines 90 degrees. Now I'm going to match it. I'm going to make this one a little bit longer because this one's longer. And there are the torches done. So now we're coming to the last bits. So I'm going to do the C shape first. And that's going to help us guide everything over. So now we've got this top part of this banner. You can imagine that this goes behind the shield and then comes out. So imagine it curves behind, comes round, curves behind, and then flows out. And that's the shape that it's actually making all the way around. So now we want a curve coming round and going up. We want a curve coming down, and then it just kicks up. And then we've got this little V shape, this chevron. Now we've got the edges of the top of this banner, this scroll, matches, curves down, and then the same underneath. The point comes out, and it curves and follows the shape around. Now we want to follow the curve all the way, the same kind of gap all the way across. So it curves up to the point in the centre, then comes down, comes underneath those 2 points on that side, and then curves over. Now I'm doing the D on this side, pretty much the same. We need to do the same on the edge of the banner as it comes out. And so follow it to kind of match on this side. Then we've got the V that comes down, goes to the edge. Then we've got the little bit above, and then we follow that line. Now we can carry this scroll right the way to the edge of the banner. Now we need to follow this one all the way around. And that joins up there. Now the same for the bit of the banner that's around the EST established 1892. Just follow the curve and the lines the same. And then we can bring the diagonals down on both sides, and then we need to follow the curve underneath, and then the same underneath the very bottom. We've got that little stripe that goes all the way under. That's looking rather lovely. Now we have the liverbird. So we want a nice outline going all the way around. I'm going to start with the branch above his beak. Is it a he or is it a she? We don't know. The liverbird's beak. So we go to the point on the edge, and then you come down. You got the branch inside. Now to the right there's a little D, and that's what gives you the little gap. Then we go back to the bottom part. The branch comes down, and then we've got a little leaf shape. Then we've got the middle leaf shape, and then we've got the inner leaf going towards the liverbird's neck. Now the beak curves up, and then we want this, we've got a D shape that comes out and then becomes a C all the way to the rear leg. So the chest curves around, comes down to the rear leg. This is all one continuous line. You get that little point down to the foot, the outer toe, middle toe, first toe, curve to the claw at the back, and that comes up, the leg goes up, then you get the point at the back, that then goes up to the back of the leg and the body, goes up to where the tail feather is, the first one comes down, follow the curve back up, and then we get to the inner part of the wing. You get the long line that comes out to a point, curves back up, and then you've got these 4 little wing parts, little points. That curves in, and then you've got this 3rd wing go all the way up to the tip underneath the C, come back down to the top of the left wing, comes down to a little white point, and then this goes up to the top of the right wing. And because you put all the shapes down earlier, it makes doing this long continuous line very easy. The outer part of the right wing comes down to the liverbird's back, and then you get this curve again to the back of the head, and then you get the feather at the back of the head that comes off, goes up over and joins the beak, and then you got this little triangle shape inside for the eye, and then you got this crescent banana shape for the white part inside. Now we'll fill the rest of the wing in. You got the piece in between the right and left wings, and you've got this little triangle. Then you've got these 4 separate wing parts, flat at the back, well, slightly curved, but flatter, going to points on the outer part of the wing, but getting gradually smaller. And then a little triangle wing at the bottom, and then the tail feather coming out, which is another crescent banana shape. Then the right leg, 2 little points, calf going down to the bottom, thicker at the top and thinner at the bottom, going to the rear claw, front claw, middle, back. And that is a complete outline down. Now that's taken about an hour and a half, but that's how simple it is if you use shapes and a grid to actually get a very, very complex graphic symbol with lots of text down. Now I am going to come in with my rubber, and we're going to rub out all the pencil lines, because especially with lighter colours like yellows and oranges and things like that, and especially this lighter turquoisey green, the pencil could actually dirty the colour that you put down, even with paint and ink. So again, you can fill this in. You can either do it all black, or you can fill it in with pencil crayons, wax crayons, paint, felt tip pens. Just have fun. It really is that simple. But here now, especially on the flames where you can see it's all filled in and dirty, it just cleans up really, really nicely. Now, you don't have to put the construction lines down. I might have said this at the beginning. I may not have done, but I say it in all the other videos. But you don't have to put the grid lines and the construction lines as dark as I do. I only do it as dark as I do so that you guys can see. Again, I'm just leaving the edges of those. Oh no, I'm just going to rub them out on this one, just because it's nice to get rid of the construction lines completely. So now I have a load of rubbing out all over my drawing. So I come in with a big brush and basically sweep them off onto a piece of card. I used to just sweep them straight onto the floor like a silly person, and then have to sweep them up again. But sweeping them onto a piece of card or a piece of paper means it's much tidier, and I can just then put them directly into the bin. But when you get rid of a load of those, it shows you where you haven't rubbed out bits. And because there was a lot of drawing on there, so that's better. Nice and clean. Again, just sweep those second bits off, and I've still missed some. I mean, again, I'm just trying to get it as clean as I possibly can before I actually colour it in. So there we have a complete outline. If you would like to, just take a screenshot, print that off, and you can colour it in. That's absolutely fine. Have fun doing that if you would like to. But that's how easy it is to get an outline down using simple shapes. Now we're going to colour it in. Now, I'm coming in with, these are these Faber-Castell felt tip pens. They're just cheap felt tip pens, not the ludicrously expensive markers. Now, always do a test. If you're unsure about your colours, just do a simple test on another bit of paper, and you'll actually figure out what colours you are going to use and need. And these are as close as out of the colours that I've got that I think will do the job we need. Now I'm going to come in first with the yellow. I'm going to fill in, and even now this yellow, I can see it's just picking up some of the black, and need that bottom part of that yellow, so I'm just carefully trying to fill in and not get a lot of bleed from the black lines. That, oh, that one got a fair bit of bleed on. I'm trying to be careful. That's what I mean, you know, even getting rid of the pencil, the felt tip pen is actually picking up the black. So there's the yellow done. This bit is just the quickest. Again, if you didn't you know, if you got lots of amazingly expensive pens and lots of different colours, you could actually do the outline using the colour felt tip or marker pens that you are colouring in with, and that way it would be perfect. You know, your outline would be the same colour that you're actually colouring in. But I'm just doing this for absolute beginners to have a bit of fun and learn how to draw very complex shapes. So again, I've just done, because I'm left-handed, I've done this right hand side first, but I'm now going to start on this side. It just shows you art is not like writing. You can start at any bit you want and then carry on, because you're training your hand and eye through your brain to be coordinated and to work in spatial awareness. And this is just something that you can do over and over again. Now, this has been, I think, nearly a couple of hours of me drawing and chatting away merrily. And there's just something so therapeutic about art. So you can see I've filled in those sections. So now I'm going to do the oval on this side. And if you just sit and draw, it's like learning a musical instrument. There's just something so pleasurable in being creative. That was my arm sticking to my black felt tip pen. And again, that's why I'm using this paper to not put moisture into the drawing. And that's the other thing, I'm really holding the pen as far away from my hand as possible, so I'm not doing this. Do try that. So there you can see we've just filled in all the top of that ornamental metalwork that would be over a gate at Anfield. So I'm now just filling in all across the top. Now I know that these pigment markers and Copic markers are absolutely phenomenal. So you can see that I've just filled in around the N. Now I'm doing all the way across the bottom. And when I was at art college and doing my degree course, I didn't do art as a degree, I did design. BC, that long ago, before computers, we actually learned everything by hand, and you had to draw type by hand. And your colours were chosen on a Pantone colour chart to specify for print. And there were Pantone colour pens. Now, whether these are like the pigment markers you can get today, but they were super expensive. It's like you can get Copic markers now, and a full set of those is like thousands of pounds. But you don't get the streaky lines or anything like that. But this is where I love encouraging beginners. If you can afford Copic markers, good on you. Absolutely fantastic. Enjoy yourself. But for everyone, especially at this time in 2020, where people were locked in at home, football was cancelled for ages. See, there we just filled all that in. That looks very zingy bluey green. So now we're going to come down, we're going to do the bits at the bottom. So Liverpool were doing really well and had nearly won, and then everything was cancelled. All sporting events were cancelled, and they were a few games away from winning the championship, and everyone was stuck in at home, and pencil, crayons, felt tip pens, everything like that disappeared off the shelves and the internet. You couldn't get them for love nor money. And this is why I use cheap materials. I did a drawing of the Grinch using cheap felt tip pens, and someone went, "Oh, this isn't very good." It's like, most people cannot afford hundreds and thousands of pounds for super expensive Copic markers. So I want to show you what you can do with basic materials, and it's a joy. I love doing this. I honestly really love encouraging you how to draw, and draw something as complex as this in a short space of time. It's an absolute privilege. So I hope you're having fun doing this. So there you can see we've filled in a lot of the banner. Now we're on this end part, and then I'll do the middle bit last of all. And sometimes in some of my videos I've got to like this, oh, I've missed a bit, but I haven't on this one. But that's the thing with drawing live, and the fact that I narrate this as we go, and the same with the portraits. So the Ariana Grande is over 4 hours, and I've put the full 4-hour lesson up, and I've also split it into 4 parts. And then Billie Eilish is about 3.5 hours long, nearly 4 hours, and there's loads on there. I've done, like I say, lots of Harry Potter characters. There's Toy Story, The Incredibles, The Grinch, as I say. I've done Queen Bob from the Trolls movie this year, and I even did the COVID-19 Cell, bit of medical illustration. Joe Wicks is up on there. There's loads, absolutely loads. Muppets, Secret Life of Pets, Inside Out, Lego movie, How to Draw a Racing Car, Olaf's on there. Like I say, it's just an absolute joy, and I will be doing lots more lessons. And I show you using basic techniques. So what looks like a really complex logo like this, or a person's portrait, I break down into simple forms so you can learn how to do your own drawings. And it's just fantastic. I love this. There we go, there's all the green. We are nearly there. I don't think I'll be using, I really like these felt tip pens. I don't think I'm going to go over it with pencil crayon on this one. So now we are coming in, and what bit do we do first? Go on, we'll do it from this way. So there's the flame, there's the second flame, the outer part of the flame. And what's amazing is, like, this metalwork at the top will have been done by an artisan craftsman and then cast. So a sculpture will have been done with it all on, and then it will have been cast in metal many years ago. And the signs outside the old football grounds will have been hand painted, whereas now this is all done in Adobe Illustrator, vector graphics files, and it's someone clicking a mouse. But it all starts, if you don't learn how to use a pencil, you will be missing out. And I can remember in the 90s, because like I say I did a design degree, I can remember in the 90s we came across a study of a London graphics agency where all of their designers had only ever grown up in the new computer age. And once a week, I think it might have been a Thursday, once a week they actually had a drawing lesson. So in the middle of the day, they actually stopped doing their design work for clients and they learned to draw. Just freehand drawing. And productivity in their design skills shot through the roof. And so it doesn't matter whether it's your football badge or the football team gear, the trainers and football boots that they wear, or even your underpants, your clothes, your glasses, the pattern in the carpet or the fabric. It all starts with an artist. And that's why if I can inspire somebody by doing something like this to enjoy the beauty of drawing and creating, and they may end up becoming a full-time artist or creator or designer, absolutely wonderful. Or if you just do it for a hobby, that's a joy. So again, here you can see I've just filled all of that in, just holding the pen at the end. Now we're filling in this edge going all the way up to the corner of the inner part of the shield. Do you know, that's looking absolutely fantastic. This is the quicker bit, and this will look fantastic on the time lapse. Filling this in with the colour. So again, I'm going over the flats of the top and now following the curve. But when you see this in the time lapse, it'll kind of fill in really quickly. That'll be dead good. Wow. Filling in the corner around the owl. I am trying to do it so that I don't, like there, leave any white space. So now we're filling underneath the Liverpool name. Now we can fill in around the letters, just gone over into the top of that L part there, but it doesn't matter because I'm just colouring this in as quickly as I can. And again, just colouring in quickly is a good technique to have because you'll learn to fill spaces in. So when you're shading with a pencil or coloured crayons, if you do coloured pencil portraits or something, you'll learn to shade and fill the tones in quickly up to the areas that you need. So there is around the P. Now the ovals, just swirling that in quite nicely. Here we've got a kind of V shape at the top. Underneath at the bottom. V shape. It's not a V shape, that's a circle, oval. So there we have Liverpool standing out. Now that looks lovely. That will be brilliant on the time lapse. So nice and simply, F, the red in the O, the second O for football, soccer for all of you lovely folks in the USA. I wonder if there's any other countries that call it soccer. I know Europe calls it football. There's the C, the L, serif on the U, the curve down the back. There's the B. Now we go down the edge on this stripe, on the inner shield. Now we have the Liverpool. So we are going to start with the branching leaves in its beak, coming over the head, going around where the eye is, just being careful to leave the gap in its mouth and its eye. Now coming down the neck, careful, we need to leave this white crescent. We come down the chest, fill all of that in. And then up to the tip, the wing feathers. The 4 little points, and then the 5th at the bottom, first of the tail feathers. Then we come down to the top of the left leg, the complete the left leg, then we do the right leg. The right foot. Now top of the back wing, we do the feathers coming down, and then the final rear tail feather crescent on the back. And there we have Liverpool Football Club's logo completed. I hope you've had fun. That's been absolutely lovely to do. Just an absolute joy. I've really enjoyed that. It seems really complex, but using simple shapes you can do something as complex as that with all of the intricate detail, the typeface, everything. Anyway, using simple felt tip pens and a pencil, that's a blast. Thanks ever so much. Take care. See you in the next How to Draw video. Ta-da.